Hey guys, my name is Ben Feynman, head trainer here at Intuitive Roots, and welcome to your virtual fitness training course. This course is going to be designed to help you build a real good base level of fitness over the next 8 weeks, give you a good starting point, just establish a good consistent routine that you'll be able to progress into more advanced exercise as you work through these 8 weeks. So we're going to hop right into it here and get started, and we're going to start each session here with what I call a mobility circuit. What this circuit's going to be designed to do is to just warm up all the joints, just get the blood flowing, get those joints kind of nice and primed for the workout, and it'll just be a good stretch for the muscles as well. It's just going to activate all the muscles and joints and just get you ready for the full workout. So we're going to start down on the back. We can lie nice and flat, so nice and easy here. We're going to start on the back. You can just put your hands to the side, and we're going to pull one heel. So let's pull the left heel into the floor, and we're just going to raise that other leg up as far as we can, getting good separation between each leg. And we're going to alternate it side to side, and you're just really anchoring in with one while you kind of raise that other one up. So we're just doing 3 each side. So the last one, good. We're going to keep things moving quick here. So now we're going to bring the right leg up, grab right under the knee, pull it in, loosen up that lower back, and work it side to side. And again, kind of anchor down with that opposite heel. Pull those knees up toward the chest. Nice pulling that lower back. One more each side. Good. All right, let's bring it up to a seated position, and we're just going to take our right foot and we're going to cross over the top of the leg, and we're just going to give it a few ankle articulations here. So just roll it out, nice full circle. We're just going to give it 3, and then let's take it in the opposite direction. So it's good to get these ankles nice and warmed up and ready. They're going to be grounding your feet, especially when we get to the squats. Good, let's go to the other side. So we'll start clockwise, 3 good articulations. And opposite direction. Really, you might hear some creaks and cracks, that's alright. We're trying to get some of that tension out of there. Alright, so now let's kind of pull the heels in toward the body. You're just going to plant the hands behind you, and we're going to do a little hip mobility. So you're just going to try to turn the hips to each side here. Try not to let the back rotate too much. If you're restricted, it might rotate a little, but try to keep that torso aimed directly forward as much as you can. One more each side. Good. All right. Now we're going to take it to the hands and knees, and we're just going to work on a little what we call thoracic spine region up in that upper back. So we're going to get in hands and knees. One hand's going to go behind the head, and you're just going to open up through that rib cage and try to take your elbow up toward that ceiling as much as you can. Make sure you're breathing as you're doing these exercises. Last one here. Good flow of breath with each rep. Opposite side. Alright, now we're going to work the hips and shoulders here. So tops of the feet are against the floor on the back, and you're going to sink into those hips. And then bring it forward, and then let those hips drift toward the floor so we get a little bit more into that lower back. These will get 5. Good, all right. And now, so tuck the toes under, and we're going to press those shoulder blades up toward the ceiling, and then drop back into the hips, eyes toward the ceiling. Good flow of breath. A couple of yoga movements here, but they activate the joints well. Good. And lastly, we're going to bring it up into a half kneeling position. So we're going to start with the foot a little further away, and we're going to work with the hip mobility first here. So getting into those hip flexors. One more. Good, and then shift the foot in a little bit closer toward you. And we're going to give it 3 more. You should feel more in the ankle now. Getting good activation of that ankle joint. Really going to help with that connectivity to the ground. Opposite side, hips. Two, last one. Good, and let's shift that ankle in a little closer. And 3 of these, getting the ankle, and then we're through that mobility circuit. Good, all right, so now we have a good warm up head to toe, and now we're going to get into the workout itself. So there's 4 movements that we're going to focus on today, and these movements are going to be the plank, movement known as the dead bug, a squat, and then a hip bridge. So a couple lower body, and then a couple upper/core derived movements. So we're going to start square one. We'll keep it right down here on the mat or the floor. We're going to start with a plank. And as you notice, I'm barefoot, or I have socks on down here. I would really encourage, if you have the space that allows you to do so, that you go barefoot or in socks. This is going to give those toes a chance to spread a little more as we're doing some of the, the upper, or the movements where we're standing on our feet and pressing into the ground, activating the lower body, such as squats, split squats. It's going to be very beneficial to get those feet as flat as you can. Otherwise, shoe with a nice flat surface is going to be your next best alternative. So that being said, let's start here with the plank. So I'm going to get right up into a plank as I explain the movement. So forearms are going to be aligned directly with the legs. You're anchoring off the toes, and you're really squeezing your glutes, your quads, and your abs as you really press those forearms into the ground. You're forming a nice straight line here, head to toe. Let me actually shift so you can see a little bit more of a side view, so what it should look like, that nice flat surface that we want. So this is going to be the ideal starting point, and you're just holding this position. So we're just going to try to do a few 20-second holds here to start. If you can't hold for a full 20 seconds, then you're going to want to find a wall or a bench. So with the wall, you're just going to get the hands up, and you're going to walk the feet out until you get a good challenging position. The standards that we're going to hold through the plank are going to be flat back all the way through. The arms and the legs are aligned in a nice straight line, and then you're just going to make sure that the hips and the hips aren't shifting too far or up too high from the ground. So let's hold for 20 seconds here. Again, if this is too difficult, use a wall. I'm just going to run a little 20-second timer, and let's hold it out. And make sure you're breathing throughout the movement. You don't want to hold that breath. Really squeeze those abs, hold it up and in. A couple deep breaths. Just make sure you're feeding oxygen to those muscles. 5 more seconds. We're just about there. And relax. All right, so we're going to do 20-second breather, and then we're going to go right down to another plank. So really, while you're resting here, think about all the mechanics of this movement. There's not much movement itself, as we're kind of just holding the position, but think about squeezing and locking off all those muscle groups. All right, here we go, down again for a second time. Raise up, hold, really squeeze and clench all those muscles off. Make sure you're breathing. And if you're doing it from the wall and it's starting to get easy, you can, if you have a chair or a table, you can move down to one of those and just reduce that angle. All right, and relax. Good. All right, we're going to hit One more of those, get 20 seconds rest again. Should be getting a good burn in the core here, and just really learning to establish this good pattern. A plank you're going to see as a recurring body position hold in a lot of the more advanced movements that we're going to progress to down the line. All right, third plank here. Let's get in position and hold it out. Maintaining those standards, making sure those hips aren't dropping or pressing up, just keeping it nice and flat. Squeezing and locking off all those other muscle groups. We got 5 seconds. You guys are doing great. And relax. All right, so that's a plank. As I said, it's going to be a very important body position, and some of the more advanced movements we'll get to down the line. But for now, we're going to keep things rolling, and we're going to get into what's called a dead bug next. So for this one, you're going to lie flat on the back. Make sure you have a mat that gives you a little padding or a comfortable surface to lie on. And we're going to pull the knees up. You want them to be at shoulder width. And then we're going to take the arms to press straight up into the air. And then you really, so the important part here, pull those shoulder blades down into the ground. And then pull those ribs in nice and tight. So you don't want those ribs protruding up real far. Pull them in, and then we're going to get opposing limbs working here. So if I take my left arm back, I'm going to take my right foot, and I'm going to push that heel out. And then as I pull them back upward, making sure those other two limbs remain motionless, I'm going to give a strong exhale. And then I'm going to work side to side. So let's go 5 each side here. Keeping those limbs synchronized, that's one of the standards of the movement here. Everything's moving in a nice even fashion, not letting either limb move too fast or too slow. Halfway. Yeah, that's 10. So we'll take a little breather here. If that is a little bit difficult for you right now and you're struggling with it a bit, you can regress the movement by just kind of doing heel taps. All right, so that would be a way that you can modify it and make it a little easier if you're struggling right now, and then you would build up to a single leg taps as you bring the arms behind the head. All right, so those are 2 things you can try if you're struggling, but we're going to hop right into the next set here. And let's go ahead. 5 on each side again, and really make sure you're keeping those ribs down and in. So this is going to help teach to maintain a nice straight back and torso, and not overcompensate with your breath by letting other parts of your body shift. Good. All right. So that is the dead bug movement. We're going to keep things moving here so we can get into these last 2 movements. So we're going to keep it here on the ground for this next one, which is a hip bridge. Again, we're going to lie flat on the back. Arms can just be at the side. You're going to want to pull those heels in as close to the body as you can. And what we're going to do here is just press those hips straight up toward the ceiling. So keep those eyes up toward the ceiling. Lift, squeeze those glutes at the top, and you can see I'm forming a nice straight line with my torso all the way to my knees as I come up, and then I'm just bringing it straight back down. And then as I raise back up, I'm squeezing my abs, I'm squeezing my glutes. I'm holding for a second and then dropping down. I want to exhale as I bring it up. Inhale as I pull back down. So let's give it 10 reps here. Really anchor those shoulder blades into the floor and get a good, strong, powerful drive up. Hinge pattern is a really essential pattern, which is what we're doing here by moving the hips back and forward. You're going to see it in a lot of advanced movements like deadlifts and kettlebell swings. So it's good to develop a strong hinge here. 2 more. And relax. All right, so we're going to take a little breather. We're going to do 1 more set, and then we will shift into the squat. So that'll be the final one we're going to do today. If that was a little difficult on that first set, one thing you can do here is just kind of take deep breaths and just activate pulling the shoulder blades into the floor. And just take some deep breaths and just really establish that pattern before you actually start lifting the hips from the floor. You can also just do some single leg hip raises, similar to what you would do in that dead bug motion, just without the arms off the ground. All right, so hopefully it wasn't too hard for you. Let's go into the second set here and lift. Make sure you're getting good breaths, so really establish that good breathing pattern. Something you want to develop early as you progress through your fitness journey here. That's 10 reps, so that's your hip bridge. Again, the importance of that movement is establishing a good hip hinge pattern that you'll see in some more advanced exercises down the line. As with the breathing that we did in the dead bug, just good to really help keep that rib cage in, and then that synchronized limb movement is really going to help develop some good core strength and some neural connections through the core. And then the plank is going to be, like I said, a recurring body position that we're going to see in a lot more exercises as we take it down the line. So let's get into the final movement that we're going to focus on here today. And this is going to be your squat. So a few things with a squat. You're going to want potentially a depth marker if this is your first time squatting. So I'm just going to grab something quick here. Give me 1 second. So let me show you without the prop first. So what the squat is going to look like. You're going to have those feet right at shoulder width. I like to slightly duck my feet out to give the knees a little bit more space to work with. But you're going to really pull the core in tight like you were doing in those dead bugs in the plank. You're going to have that chin up. You're going to have the eyes straight forward. And then you're just going to press into the heels, trying to maintain a nice straight back. So you're sinking down. Once you get to a 90-degree bend in the legs, that's what you should be aiming for. You're going to drive up through those heels right back up to that start position. So inhale on the way down, and then exhale as you drive up through those heels. So if you're having a tough time establishing that bottom point, this is where the prop comes in. Just really something to mark depth so you don't have to kind of feel like you're falling down toward the floor. So keeping the body straight, you're just going to go down and you're going to tap that chair. All right, so keep the chair if you need it. I'm going to remove it here for myself. We're just going to hit 10 reps. And then the other thing with the squat, you don't want the knees caving in or bowing out too much. You just want slight duck out with the feet, like I said, is okay. So let's see what that looks like. So let's hit 10 reps. Sink down, exhale on the way up. If you're using that depth marker, just trying to sit down, tap it on each rep, but you don't want to let all your body weight fall into it. You want to keep that control of your squat. Three more. That's 8. Last 2 here. Keep that breath flowing. Good. All right. So that's the squat. Let's take a little breather here. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it while we rest. So get that breath flowing. and just let the muscles relax here. So squat is another really essential pattern as just for developing a strong body. You know, as far as how you use a squat, you're going to pretty much encounter it almost every day in life, whether you're kind of, you know, bending down to pick something up, or I don't know, you have to reach down and grab something low. It's just really, really important for developing strength and capacity to just carry through the rest of your life, really. Just want a good squat pattern. So that's why we're really focusing on the movements that we are in this 8-week course, because they're really going to help, if you can master these movements, build that good base level strength that you're really going to be able to carry into more advanced techniques if you want. Otherwise, you can still, you know, build a really strong base over what we're just going to be showing you in this course. So that being said, let's go back to that second round of squats. I'll give you a side view here now. One other thing, if your back is collapsing, if you have any kind of prop that you can use, I'm just going to grab a book here that I have on hand. If you find that when you're going down in that squat, your back's coming forward like that, that's another thing, you know, could be a real tight lower back or hip mobility issue. One thing we can work on to correct it is as you sink into that squat, press out. It's going to help keep that back straight. As you reach the arms out, it's going to force that back to stay a little straighter. So I'll do a set with this just so you guys can see what it looks like. And let's hit those 10 reps again. So you just press straight out to keep that back straight. So it's more of a corrective movement. If your back is already straight and you don't need it, I'll do 2 more with it. But you can use that in combination with the depth marker if need be. 4 more. But still really look for that good point of 90-degree bend in the legs for your depth. And if you can get deeper than that without any pain in the knees, even better. Good. When we're doing body weight squats, getting a nice deep range of motion is actually desired. It's going to give you more mobility in the hips. It's just going to allow you to move better and, you know, unlock some deeper levels of strength. Okay, so we've gotten through the 4 movements that we're going to focus on today. You're going to see these 4 movements recurring in pretty much every workout, except for the next one, because the next one we're going to focus on 4 different movements, and then the 7 other weeks are going to be all about building up those movements and combining them in circuit workouts. We're going to show you how to kind of combo them up and you know, use for a little bit more, you know, quick move and fast-paced workout. We're just in these first 2 weeks focusing on mastering these techniques yourself. So we're going to get into the stretch now, but I encourage you to try to do this, you know, workout routine a few times this week if you can, and really just focus on mastering the technique of those exercises. And if you're struggling, I gave you some of the modifications, but look in the exercise skills library in your classroom, and you'll be able to see live videos and a little bit more in-depth conversation about how to improve the technique of those movements. All right, so we're just going to do a quick base stretch here and just get everything. So the flexibility is something you want to really look at the end of the workout. Now that our muscles are nice and warm, now's the time that we can really use that elastic property of muscle tissue by allowing it to lengthen a little further because it's nice and warm. So that's why we do the mobility in the beginning to kind of warm things up, and the flexibility at the end to really, you know, take maximum advantage of being able to lengthen muscle tissue. So let's grab on the shins, and you're just going to pull those knees up and in toward the body, and you're going to get a nice release of that lower back. Good deep breath in the mouth, exhale through the nose. One more. Good, and we're going to release, and we're going to try to do 3 deep breaths in each position. So we're going to take it around now, and we're going to lie face first, and you can have the tops of the feet against the floor, so again a little yoga type movement here, but we're going to press those arms straight up, eyes toward the ceiling, and get a good stretch to that lower back and those abs. press back into those hips. And you're going to create a little pressure with the palms against the floor. Sink back nice and deep. You should get a pull through the lats up here as well as into the hips and lower back. A few good deep breaths. Alright, let's raise up. Walk forward a little if you have to. What we're going to do here is we're going to rock up to the heels. And then we're just going to walk those hands back as far as you need to get those hamstrings nice and lengthened and the heels flat. That's the what we really want to get here is flat heels, so we stretch out those calves and hamstrings. One more breath here. Good. All right, we're going to walk those hands back up. And before we start raising up, let's just kind of hang out in this position. Let some of that tension fall out of the shoulders and upper body. A few good deep breaths. All right, now we're just going to slowly start raising up. One vertebrae at a time. Alright, and now we're going to sweep those arms toward the ceiling. Reach up nice and tall, and then you're going to just try to press your feet in nice and flat. And now we're going to widen out our stance a little, have a better base of support. And let's just lean left to get a good pull down the side of the torso. And then let's hit the other side here. Good, and work on a little more shoulder and back flexibility. Hold the hands behind the head, pull those elbows backwards. Good, we're going to get the quads next and the hips. So you might want to find something to balance on if you need it. If you have that chair as a duck marker or a table, whatever you have available, just pull that leg back. We want to get a good stretch in the quad. Find something to balance on if need be. And focus that breath into the muscle group that you're stretching. It kind of helps get a little bit better stretch there mentally. Cross that right leg over now, and we're going to get into the hip. So once you're crossed over, just reach down toward the floor. Feel a good stretch. So if the right leg's over top, you should feel it in that left hip. And we're going to slowly start raising it up. Carefully unwind those legs, and let's go back to the opposite side. Quad stretch. Alright, let's gently release. Cross it over, and we're going to reach down now and get a good pull into that right hip. Alright, and let's bring it up. Gently unravel those legs. So that's a good full body stretch. All these workouts we're going to be doing are pretty much going to be full body, which is why we're doing a full body mobility routine and then the full body flexibility at the end. But with that being said, the mobility routine at the beginning and the flexibility routine we just did there at the end could be done as standalone activity if you just want to kind of take a little bit of time out of the day to focus on either of those two things. If you're going to do one versus the other, I would probably encourage the mobility more because I think that's going to have more of an effect, especially if you're coming from not previously exercising, and you just want to do something to make your body feel good. The mobility would be a great first thing in the morning kind of routine, but you can really incorporate it throughout the day wherever you can fit it in. If not going to be at the beginning of the workout, but always a really good warm up for beginning the workout. So this is week 1 complete. So focus on those 4 movements. Do this workout a couple more times if you can. And next week we'll be introducing 4 different movements, and then the rest of the program will be tying all 8 movements together. So until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.